Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the BG Show. I am here as always with my co-host Adam, and we are here to do a House of the Dragon episode 5 spoiler review. If you haven't seen it, we have reviews up for the previous 4 episodes. Some in Zoom, one of them is in person. We go into everything, but if you've seen 5, stay right here. We're going to do everything. So this is your official spoiler review. This was obviously a very spoiler-heavy episode, so do not continue if you haven't seen it. Just bookmark this and come back. If this is your first time on my channel, please subscribe. We are making our slow climb to 100 subscribers. We're at 80 right now. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, episode 5. Fuck. Christian Cole beats the fuck out of what's his name?
Joffrey Lawnmouth, Knight of
Joffrey
Kiss.
Lawnmouth. So I don't even know where to start. So let's back up. So the episode
Best episode.
starts hilarious. I spoke in the last one. I love the series. I think he's hilarious. He just pukes out the side of the boat in disarray. It's
Well,
hilarious. He just
you
is.
gotta love how he had a vomit bucket guy handy for him.
Oh yeah, he just can't handle anything. He's total bitch. Kind of hilarious. So they land on what's the name of this? Where they go?
They went to House Balerion, which is on Driftmark. They went to the
Driftmark, right.
House
So they go
High
to House
Tide.
Valerian, which aka the Black family of the show, and the Black Targaryen specifically, and they essentially the series is offering Corlys Rhaenyra in marriage to his son Laenor, right? That's his name.
Yep.
Laenor. Obviously it makes sense, to combine the houses. Corlys, I guess disrespects him because he basically doesn't greet him at all when the king shows up, and then he makes him come in, and then he also said he tries to make he wants his last name to be the last name of the future heir, not Targaryen, which I was listening to other podcasts and they were saying like if you even mention that to another king, you'd get like beheaded on the spot. So that's like it's just supposed to show like more disrespect to Viserys that he's receiving, right?
Well, right now I think Viserys is weak, and that was a very weak moment. And I think personally, at the end of the day, Viserys got what he wanted. He got Corlys back on his side and happy. He got Rhaenyra betrothed and eventually, wedded to Laenor. He got the power and strength of House Valerion back. People don't understand. Like, you have to get it. Like, that's like marrying into House Lannister with Tywin. Like, that's what people are perceived of House Valerion at that time. Like, they have multiple dragons. So, multiple. And it's a big fucking deal to bring that and bind that strength to your house. So I think the way how the scene even went, it would really quickly, if you really think about it, Corlys is like, all right, how's the succession going to work? It's exactly what I said. Rhaenyra is the heir. When I die, she's the heir. Okay, what about my last name? Until your firstborn takes the throne, they will have that name until then they will take the name Targaryen, which I think was a fair compromise. And it's a massive win for Corlys. How do you say no to that?
Why
Wouldn't you
does he
agree?
even care? I mean, I guess he cares, but like if you're the heir, because Otto didn't care about his name, so why does um
Well, the son's automatically taking the name Targaryen. Normally,
right.
there
Um,
you remember men and women in a very different
yeah. So this is
society.
another. I mean, I know we spoke about it last. This is another feminism moment. I mean, it's really undeniable. Even though it's part of the text, like it's undeniable. Like this show is pretty much now getting into after now we're getting to another modern thing we've seen in 2022 more and more men are taking like their wives' names. That's become a thing. So I mean, it's part of the story, but I think it also is something that kind of relates to modern times a little bit. But okay, so Viserys also shakes his cousin's hand. Who was that who came in? Corlys's wife, who's his cousin, right?
Rhaenys.
And she didn't know that he lost his finger. So people also I think people are also getting the feeling that he could die soon. So they're trying to like line up the chips.
Otto even said it in the episode,
All
like
right, yeah,
he's going to die. Like it may not be. That's how the episode starts, I think, with Otto leaving the capital.
yeah. So I guess we'll back up. So Otto is leaving because he gets kicked out, and it gets removed his hand, and so Alice, his daughter, the queen, goes to talk to him, and basically I would call her a lame duck, right? She's a lame duck because essentially the king is going to die, and then she won't be queen because his daughter will be queen, and then her kids will be the heir. So she's essentially going to be a queen who's like a widow of a dead king, and then she's going to have children who have no titles, right? They'll just be her children.
Exactly. That's like a fair term to use. Like she's screwed. And Otto said this, and she kind of did what Sansa did in
Well,
Game of
and
Thrones. She
also,
ran to Cersei.
and then one more question. So when they say she's screwed, they just mean she won't have power. She's not gonna be like put to death or anything, right?
Here's the issue that people need to
They're just scared
understand.
of losing power.
No, and you kind of saw this with the episode 4 with how people in Flea Bottom were gonna like take to Rhaenyra getting to the throne. They were like, no fucking way are we accepting a woman. And that's Otto's point. Like half the realm is not going to accept her. Like they're just not going to accept her just because she's a woman. And they will die because of that for whatever reason. And they will get troops and more people will join. And her point is if she has to fight that back, which she will, there's only one way to win. You either die or you marry into the family. Like that's really ultimately the only two decisions. You get killed or you marry in this universe, really. And the children will get killed because they'll challenge her own children. So, and he said that, and it was really smart. And Allison, she pulled the Sansa, like she ran like Sansa ran to Cersei. Ned was going to send me home. I don't want to leave. And next thing you know, he's thrown in the black cells, gets his head cut off. Okay, that's a whole other story. Fucking stupid Sansa. Like this was a dumb move on her, and Otto made it very plain and clear. Like you better pray that Rhaenyra has her mercy, and she wound up being wrong. Kristen is the one that slept with her, not Daemon.
Hmm.
And I think that was like the big thing because later in the episode,
Well,
which
well, yeah. I mean, like it was him, but like at the same time, like the motive still matters. Like even though he didn't end up doing it, like he was like 90% of the way there. Like,
well, let's talk about that. On the way, basically, to Driftmark, we get the scene with Kristen and Rhaenyra. And there's only one other way we can really compare it to, in my opinion, and that's with Dario. And we
yeah,
hear Kristen say to her basically, the whole thing like, let's leave. We'll take care of the whole like. I'll take ship. We'll go to Essos. We'll go all
he's a
over.
jabroni.
Fucking like it's a Jorah move, like what happened when Jorah like married, and it's another height. That was a
Not
high
even
tower
Jorah's
woman.
that insane. Even Jorah knew I'm too old.
No. Jorah tried to pull this with Danny. He's like, let's run to a shy, and Danny was like, no, chill, that's not happening. Like he tried it. Like this happened to Jorah once before, and he went bankrupt because of this. So like this is really what Cole was saying, and this is my point, and I said this in the episode 4 is like Rhaenyra and Viserys are the only ones that know about the White Walker thing, and when she's telling him like I have duties, this is the duty he's talking about. Like this fucking threat's coming. We have to be prepared. It may not come. Like, and obviously we know it doesn't come till fucking 200 years later, basically with Jon and Danny, and that's why we can compare it to Danny and Dario. Sort of the same thing. Queen, concubine, mistress, paramour, whatever you want to call it, and Dario was just like, okay, marry his daughter, do what you want. I'll be here, and whatever, we'll have fun. Christian had the world on his shoulder, and you said this before, like you can't sleep with the queen, the royalty, the whole thing. That's right. But many Kingsguard knights had slept with royalty, princesses, queens, kings, blah 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 blah. So it was really not that much, and I think most people when they saw that, and then Rhaenyra kind of rejected him, he was clearly hurt. But come on, he's so stupid. And then we really see how dumb he gets eventually, because really where it leads to, obviously, when
Well,
they get back and Alice.
this shows how dumb he is because it's like, okay, when they had sex, it was like in the moment, you're like, okay, he made a dumb mistake in the moment. But now it's like he's had time to think about it, and he still thinks that he's going to be king or somehow like elope with the queen. It's like, what do you think? What do you think? Like, he's just a moron.
Well,
So
yeah,
his
not to fight.
character arc was like, because you think he's going to be like this really noble knight, and maybe he'll still like somehow correct, but like he was like this, and now it's just like, bah. He's just gone off a cliff.
Well, being that he was the one that slept with Rhaenyra, and it wasn't mentioned in the books, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Because at the end of
He's
the
a knight,
episode,
right? He's a knight.
he's a knight of the
But
Kingsguard.
isn't
Yep.
I'm guessing suicide is against knight's code, right?
Not really. I
No.
mean, obviously, yeah, you're not supposed to go out like that, of course. But I mean, the big thing really, and we saw it at the end, he was going to kill himself, and then Allison comes. So I want to know how this plays out, and how she holds this and plays this with him, because before she goes and summons Kristen, we get that nice little scene with her and Larry's, the Clubfoot. And this is like the first time I think we get like a nice real.
Shout out to Sure, the club foot.
Oh my God. He wishes. So we see him. Like, what did you think before I say anything? What did you think of that scene? They're talking. He's talking about the flowers, and then talks to Allison about, oh, is she unwell? Like, what did you think at that moment?
I don't really know, to be honest.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair because there's so much context you don't know specifically, I guess, offhand. So, obviously his father is Hand of the King, and his older brother is Harwin. So, and they're very different. Harwin is supposed to be the strongest knight.
Wait, the Clubfoot's father's Hand of the King?
Lionel. Lionel Strong is now the Hand of the King.
The fat guy?
Yeah, that's his father.
He doesn't look old enough to have a son that old. Am I crazy?
It's been one of the things nitpicked online that I've seen, that they look more like brothers than father and son.
I feel like he was in his 30s, the fat guy, or 40s latest. Maybe not. I guess if he's 40 something, he can have a son who's 20 something, I guess.
They agreed. Like I said, all the ages are fudged. So
That's hilarious.
So yeah, he's the second son. So you have to understand, when you're a second son in this society, you stand to gain nothing unless you can stand out. He can't fight. He's very smart to a degree. So like he's got to use his brains to get his thing. And you could see a little bit of LF, I think, in him in that one scene, because he was saying to Allison, he knew about the moon tea. She didn't know about the moon tea. Like, that's a big deal, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
did you pick up on that?
Yeah, I did actually.
And this is the one thing I think all Ice and Fire people need to pick up about this scene. This is probably my best little tidbit that I picked up, and probably all throughout the entire series so far. In that scene, and he's talking about the flowers from Bravos, behind him are lemon trees and a myrtle of lemons. In the books, Dany's childhood is very, very like her memory is about this red door and a lemon tree, and no one really knows where it's from. Some people think that maybe she was living in Bravos, but because of the climate, it didn't make sense of lemon trees growing there. Some people think Dorne, some people think Lys, rather. I think that's confirmation that she was indeed in Bravos for her childhood, and she was living at the Sea Lord of Bravos's palace. And I think we're going to see that, and I think that was done not just to give Ice and Fire book readers a nod, but because we are supposed to see, we saw the mention of it, the Sea Lord of Bravos and Corlys, a marriage for Laena. So it was brought up. So we should be seeing something about that, because Laena, in this episode, we saw with Daemon, they were flirting at the wedding dance or welcoming feast.
Yeah.
That was the whole crazy thing we need to talk about.
All right. Yeah, no, I was going to say, before we get to the wedding.
Yeah, but they have their little talk, and you can see he's scheming. He's talking about the moon tea. She's getting ideas in her head, and I thought that was a really nice part of the showrunners giving him a moment, because I feel like him and Harwin, like you said, you had no idea. This is the problem, that I think they've been moving a little too fast, because if they slowed it down just a bit, I think you would have been like, holy shit, like, whoa, what's.
Well, I think.
And this.
No, yeah, we're gonna say sorry.
And then this brings us to the next scene, which I think will go down as one of the dumbest fucking things in TV history. Fucking Cole admitting, yeah, I slept with the princess. What do you think? Like, the dumbest fucking thing you can do.
He's just yeah, I mean, I guess for the terms, it definitely they're just trying to spark up drama. I guess there's more drama in him admitting it than him keeping it a secret. Like, if he was smart and just kept it a secret, and if everyone was smart, there wouldn't be a story, right? So I guess they need to do something. How does it go in the books? Like, what happens in the book?
See, we never knew that it was really Cole in the books. And this is where it really, really starts to change, because, like I said, they're moving quickly because they want to get to the dance, and it's getting there. You can tell, especially with that trailer after the episode, I guess, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But when they go to the welcoming feast, and they're all there, and you see Laenor, and you see Laena, and you see Corlys, and you see Rhaenys, and everyone's there, and you see Joffrey, and we see a Joffrey. I told you we see some names. And, it was interesting to see a Joffrey get and not be a maniacal, crazy dickhead. The first thing I said to myself is, how does he know about the moon tea? How does he know about Cole banging like Rhaenyra already? And then I realized, as a book reader, it's a little bit easier. And you've sort of seen it, like when they're in the council meetings and they're trying to be private, you might sometimes see a person overhearing or listening. The Red Keep has no secrets. And it got out because they're talking. You don't know who's overhearing. The Grand Maester sent the moon tea, so he obviously said something, which got back to Lionel, which
So,
got back to Laris, the cult.
so do we know? Is it do we think it's poison or is it confirmed like abortion tea?
It's confirmed abortion tea.
Okay,
They didn't do a very good job of it in Game of Thrones, but
but
Liza,
they're not trying to poison her. They're just trying to prevent a
no,
pregnancy.
correct. Liza Tully actually took the same moon tea because she actually had a
So,
kid with Littlefinger.
so wait a second. So time out. If Kirsten doesn't know about the tea, correct?
I'm assuming not.
Is he not worried about a pregnancy? Like, is that why he's worried? They don't even mention that. Isn't that what he should be worried about?
It's funny because the first thing I was saying is, did she drink the tea? And they never addressed it, so we don't know.
But he doesn't
If I
even.
was him, I'd be worried.
That should be his number one worry because either A, they link it to him, or B, his son gets born and he can never admit it or never meet his son because it would get him killed.
Like Jamie.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good question. I want to know if they ever addressed that. Did she drink the moon tea? That I want to know. But the whole welcoming feast, if you see, that was a whole crazy.
I didn't even think of that in the last episode. Like I was so worried about just the act itself would get him killed. I didn't even think about her getting pregnant at the same. Like that's crazy too.
See, the welcoming feast brought two drastic changes, and one of them was one of the very first things. One was Damon killing his wife, the bronze bitch, Lady Royce.
I had to like look. That was a gruesome scene. I had to look away a little bit.
Well, they didn't show it.
Yeah, well, they didn't show it. I'm just saying the fall, like the fact that she couldn't move. I was not a fan of that. But that was
when he picked up the jagged rock. My problem is in the book, and I can see why they did it for the show, and they're supposed to be claiming the show is the truth, but you can't change years and birth dates and blah 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 blah. So I don't buy that. Rhaenyra and Laenor get married the year before Rhea dies, and Daemon is on the stepstone still mourning, and then gets a raven that she dies. So they kind of made him just like this bloodthirsty maniac that killed his wife for no reason, which I'm not buying. I'm buying she died naturally, and then he got the raven. I mean, it's very possible he left the stepstones. He has a fucking dragon. It's not that hard. Drives, flies all the way to the fucking Vale, kills the girl, flies back, and then gets a raven saying your wife died. It's possible. I didn't like it in that context, but in terms of the show, because Rhaenyra was about to get married, and then you saw it during the feast dance, they were basically plotting their own wedding. Did you come on? Did you hear what she was saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was saying to him, they were speaking in High Valyrian, like, kill my father's Kingsguard, take me to Dragonstone, and let's get married. Like, that was fucking awesome. And, that whole welcoming feast, it was a major thing because you saw a whole lot of stuff. You first saw, and I think you asked about this before. Did anyone know that Laenor was gay other than, Corlys and
so I was gonna ask, so Corlys knows.
And Rhaenys, they both know.
Do the parents know, and do they not care, or do they? As long as he has as long as he doesn't make it public, do they not care?
They don't care, and him and Rhaenyra basically said this when they were talking on the beach. We'll make an heir, and
do people know? Do other people know? Does everyone know
that he's gay?
Yeah.
No, but I'm going to assume based on the ending of the way they did this, they're going to be
everyone
like.
Knows. But then why does his boyfriend? Doesn't that make it super obvious that this random guy is like walking in right behind him?
The one drastic change was Daemon killing his wife, and this was the second drastic change that I did not like. And because of their wedding, and Viserys kind of said this, we're going to have a massive feast with tournaments and balls and blah 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 blah. I'll call it rivalry, if you will, between Rhaenyra and Alicent. I think you can kind of see that, and especially with Rhaenyra and her green dress, which we'll get to, happened during a tourney thing where Cole was fighting Joffrey, fair and square, and he beat the ever-living shit out of him, completely rocked his crap, and he died a couple days later. So it was a little bit more natural, if you will. It wasn't just straight up, fighting out of the wedding. But if you listen, he was basically telling him like, "This is great for us." You know, Lenore is gay. I'll still get to have him. Rhaenyra likes you. You'll still get to have her. Just shut. Like we know. Like just be like this is. He should have just shut his mouth, said nothing. And Cole, to me, I think he kind of went berserk because he kind of feels humiliated. He got rejected. He feels like disgusted and gross. He said he spoiled his white cloak. It's all he has. Like, I get it. He came from nothing. He's got no house, no riches, no nothing. His sword is all he's got. And then, this kind of whole thing, boiling point, he just snapped and fucking beat the guy to death, which it would have been better over Torny in context where he didn't do it. I think it just kind of made him look bad. And that's kind of why it's like, he wanted to commit suicide, because that's not in the books of him trying to commit suicide. Like when he was beating him, like, what did you think?
Yeah, I didn't really. It was kind of confusing because I thought like when the skirmish first happened, I thought it was like someone made a diversion to maybe like kill Viserys and like no one see it or something. I was like, why is
Good
it?
idea, actually.
But like the one thing in the show is like there's kind of a lack of security. Like Viserys doesn't really travel with security. Like I remember like when what's her name when Cersei was like walking, like not only did she have the mountain, but I feel like she always had people around her. Like this shit breaks up. Like where are the troops to break up the fight? Like how is there just like a mob going on and on and on and on? Like where is everyone? Like how is no one breaking this up?
Well, in defense to that, the Kingsguard is around. Like Kristen was around. You saw the other Kingsguard. Targaryen guards are around.
And I understand his motivation. I don't know. I didn't. Maybe he's just a dumbass. That's the thing. But like him randomly just like bashing the guy's head in front of everyone just seems so random. I don't know. It just seems like why would he do that?
Yeah, he snapped. I don't get it. That's why I said in context, if it was during the melee in a tournament, like
they didn't show like a snapping moment. I think they should have showed like him, like maybe like a slow mo of him like kind of getting dizzy, like one of those classic movie scenes, and him kind of like looking around and then like snap. There's no like snap, it's kind of like what the fuck. But
yeah, I mean, if I remember it from sequence to sequence, it's Daemon and Rhaenyra. They're getting close after Daemon flirts with Lena. Which was a nice little touch, is right after is like he goes in to sort of kiss her. You can't see like the close up, and then you hear the scream.
Oh yeah, true.
But the other main thing with that whole welcoming feast was two other things. I think was Jason Lannister when he came in. He was like, "Oh my god, look how big this is! Like I can't believe like this is just like to give you like they're trying to show you like the Lannisters are not." Like that's why when you walked into High Tide, Corlys had all those sick artifacts, a sick throne, everything. And then the main thing with this episode, which I think why it's fair to say you already know one side will be called the Greens, is Alicent's dress. You saw her, she came in during Viserys' speech. He was, giving a speech ready to go and just stops and you go and she looked good. Dress was awesome. She looked great. And you heard the Clubfoot and Harwin, talk, and they said, "What is the color when Hightower goes to war? Green." And they said that dress was made out of war banners from the tapestries from Hightower and the Reach. So it was a war signal.
And I don't know, isn't it like different? I don't know, like she's the queen, but I feel like if she fucks around too much, like he can still kill her. Like, how does she feel so comfortable just like doing this shit? Like she's powerful, but like. I feel like she should be a little scared more to do this. I don't know.
Well, that's because Viserys is a nice guy. If it was a more crazy king like Joffrey, she probably would not be doing this. So she's not dumb. I think she's a little bit, not gets it with the whole thing. She's a little bit, kind of close-minded. She's a good girl, and you saw it in the last episode. She's a kind of a good little religious girl. You sullied yourself, like she's not like Rhaenyra, a crazy little spoiled little brat, sort of to speak of, and Cole beating Joffrey to death, I think was just, I guess they wanted to make him look just as bad as Daemon in a light. That's the only thing I could think of,
Also, like, yeah, that guy, I'm not saying he deserved to die, but he just like, why would you go up to Christian Cole and just be like, oh yeah, by the way, like I know your secret, and like that's like going up to someone who's like and being like, that's like going up to a drug dealer and just being like, yeah, by the way, I know you deal drugs. And like,
Yep.
yeah, if you're like, it makes sense for him to want him to be killed. Like, why wouldn't he want you killed?
That's like season 8 when Varys, the great spy master, just runs up to
Stupid.
John in front of Danny. You should be king over Danny. It's like, come on, that was
That's so
bad. And
stupid. Like, why would you do that? I don't know.
yeah,
What was the
but
benefit of that even? I don't know.
that's what happens when they move too quickly and fudge the thing. Like this was done in a tourney. Like it would be way different if you beat the shit out of him. They took him off the field, and then you got the thing a day or two later, he died. Like that would make you think completely different, other than him just beating the guy's face. And I get
Mhm.
it why he did it. Like the less people that know, the better. But this was not the way to do it. Though
Right.
I will say, and I guess some people are calling it the Green Wedding. I don't know because that was really a welcoming piece. But right after they go to the wedding, they skip to it, and you know, you saw Leno really cared for the guy because right before he crawls to the body, they obviously take him away, but you see the blood spill is still there, the blood stain. You see Rhaenyra is kind of teary eyed, Lenor is crying, Corlys is there, Viserys is there, Alicent's there, Rhaenys is there, and the Sefton is there to do the whole thing, the
So
ceremony of the I do's, and Lenor's crying, and you saw, come on, dude, like you're about to become the king, like get the fuck over it, dude.
what
Come on.
are we supposed to believe that Rhaenyra was only okay with it because he was gay, and that was the only reason she was like wanted to marry him because she knew it was a sham, or like was there another reason?
No, I think Rhaenyra decided, and this is the problem with the big time skip and not getting enough to digest it. I think Rhaenyra thought it was good in two things because one, if she's going to be queen, truthfully, having House Valerian on her side is a good fucking thing. Two, Lenor is gay, so she can go off and kind of do whatever
And
she
she knew that
wants.
it was a factor.
He knew that. She knew that. She knew that. And like that's what they were speaking about on the beach, basically. One of the best lines in the book actually comes.
Shit, did I lose you? You still there? Hold
The
on.
whole thing.
Wait, I lost you. Say whatever you're gonna say. It froze.
I was going to say the whole main line about on the beach they were talking about the whole geese and duck thing. One of the best lines in the entire book. It comes from Grand Maester Melos, and this is the thing: the council in the book they knew he was
Hold
gay,
on.
or
Wait,
they
hold
had
on a second. Hold on. I want to make sure my internet's okay.
a.
I think it's okay. Yeah, just keep going.
So they knew he was gay. Like it was I wouldn't say well known in the book, but the rumors were known on the small council because when they thought about this marriage for them, one of the best lines is I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, Grand Maester Velos goes, "Well, I prefer chicken, but when fish is served to me, I eat it." And it's meant to be the whole sexuality thing.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's it word for word, but it's great. And they tried to throw that in there. So like she knew that, and I guess that takes a factor into why she wanted it. And that was the reason why I think she even says to Cole on the boat, like, this doesn't need to be the end. And then he kind of, in my opinion, a little girl and fucking freaks out and like cries.
Yeah. So shit. So all right, so it's 10 episode season, right? So we're 5 episodes in. Like from your expectations, like out of 10, is the show better or worse than you expected, or what you expected? And what would you grade out of 10, like through 5 episodes?
I would say 5 episodes in total. I'd say it's a solid 8. I'd say the last episode is a solid 10 out of 10. That was a fucking great episode.
10 out of
Again,
10? I don't know if it's 10 out of 10.
no, dude, I'm telling you, that was
You're
fucking
saying it was
great.
as good as like Battle of the Bastards or any Game of Thrones? You're saying it can't get better. 10 out of 10. It cannot improve. That's a perfect episode.
That was near perfect, especially for what they were trying to do. Uh, you know, I'm trying to keep it different from Game of Thrones. I'm trying to judge it on its own thing.
Okay.
So, that last night episode was 10 out of 10. Overall, solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
I think I think season 2 will be like season 4, just bang, 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 and the pace is going to go much slower
Yeah,
because
I
the end
think
of
yeah, sorry, go.
no, you go.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think this is also an 8 for me. I think it seems like you're saving a bunch of the dragon budget for the second half of the show. That's done.
Agreed.
Because they really haven't been. I mean, they've showed them a little bit, but not as much as you would have thought.
Four dragons. They showed
Oh,
what they should have knew one last
yeah.
night, maybe. So you
They're
didn't really.
showing them, but I mean like in action only a little bit. And I think it shows confidence in the show because if they weren't confident in the show, they would have had all the dragons like in the first episode because they would have been scared, like, okay, we got to get people hooked in the first episode. They're kind of confident people will kind of come in. So a lot of shows like will spend most of their budget in the first episode, in the pilot episode, but they're kind of backloading it. But
No,
yeah,
I
I
think
think
it's
8 out of 10, and yeah,
I think it was. I think it was fucking great. I do want to spend a couple minutes on the trailer that we got to see because
we
that
got eight.
trailer.
Yeah, we got 8 minutes left.
All right, 2 minutes on the trailer. That trailer we saw, massive time jump, as you got to
Oh
see.
yeah, let's get into the time jumps before we end. Okay.
Massive time jump. We're now officially into older Rhaenyra, older Allison. So good, big congrats to Millie Alcock and Emily Carey, I think her name is. They fucking killed it, those two. I wish I got a whole season out of them. To be
Fans
honest,
aren't gonna like it. I'm telling you, the fans are not gonna like this.
I agree, but I think in the overall scheme, I think it's okay.
It won't ruin the
Because-
show, but it'll be a nick on the. It'll be kind of
Agreed.
a thing, yeah.
I think they both have a huge fan base, especially Millie. But
Oh
what
yeah,
we-
she's gonna come off into some huge roles. Oh yeah.
oh yeah, 100%. But I think the main thing in those trailers, just to speak on, that we got to see Allison's kids be a little bit older. Rhaenyra has some kids. I'm not going to get into that, so we'll see. So she is squeezing out some kids with. So we'll leave that there. Viserys looks horrible. He's
How
like
does he
losing
make
his
it
hair.
10 years? I can't believe he's still alive 10 years. It's 10 years, right? He's still
That's
somehow
what they
alive.
said. See, the timeline is so fudged.
It doesn't
that's
make
the
like how is
reason.
he still alive 10 years later? Like what are they feeding him? I don't even. Yeah.
That's the reason. The whole timeline is so fudged. But we got to see that. We got to see Aegon. We got to see Aemon. We got to see.
So
Rhaenyra's
Aegon
boys.
is the one who kind of looks like a young Daemon. He's Allison's son. Allison, he kind of looks a little weird, right hair, skinny.
the weird looking
Yeah,
kid you saw first that was in the battle tourney yard.
Yeah.
That was Aegon.
who's the
I think
son of
there- I
Allison?
think there- I think there's
who was
two
the baby?
Aegons, though.
Who was the baby in that? He was the
If I'm
baby,
not-
right?
The little baby that Rhaenyra's holding.
No, he was the baby. Like when they have the hunting tournament, and he kills.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think there's another Aegon though,
Okay.
and then the other kid, other blonde one, that's Aemon, and then we got to see all three of Rhaenyra's boys.
All right.
Which I'll leave. Viserys looks horrible, but we got to see a fight between.
Still alive though.
We got to see a fight between Harwin and Kristen Cole. I'm hyped for that.
Oh yes,
And-
Christian Cole somehow in the Kingsguard 10 years later after how is if you're Corlys, you're worried about a last name like your son. If you're Corlys, I feel like that's such disrespect to your son. Or if you're how does he become the king and not have like the first thing he does is not have Christian Cole killed? How is that not his first decree as king?
Well, he would never.
Well, that's
be
also
king.
a problem. And okay, I just thought of this. Another problem in that marriage now is that he hates Christian Cole and she loves Christian Cole, and if the person that she was banging killed the person that he was banging.
Exactly. We're adding more fire to the fuel here. Now you're getting it.
So
Yeah, no, layers on layers on layers. It's a good point. It's
but if
exactly
you're Corlys, like even if you're like, they don't even mention what he thinks about his son being gay, but it's like regardless of if your son is gay.
Yeah,
it's
no,
great.
they brought it up.
If your son's boyfriend gets murdered like that, wouldn't you want that guy murdered? If you're the most you want to be the most powerful guy, or you're the richest guy.
Well,
They
he
have
brought it up.
dragons. Like, wouldn't you feed him to a dragon? I don't get it.
He brought it up. He thought he was going to grow out of it. He kind of made that gesture, and obviously, I don't think he does or will. But no, I agree. It's all big questions. It's not that easy to kill a king's guard. They're supposed to serve for life, and you're not the king, Corlys. So I get that. All good points. But a lot of we're going to see a. I think we've been going 0 to 100. I think we're going 100 to 200 from like the next 3-4 episodes. So really good fucking shit coming our way.
All right. Well, that's our episode 5 review. It's only still got a whole other half of the season to go. Thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe if you liked it and got to this point. I'm continuously working to improve our setup. I got to get a better computer. Once I get to a Mac, we're really gonna have a good setup and improve my studio. But thanks again for watching, everyone, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.